If you watch my reviews, it should come as no surprise to you when I say that the lightweight daily training category or the lightweight trainer category is my favorite category hands down. Last year, the Hyperion 2 took the cake for me in 2024, but how does the new version compare to my current frontrunner, the EVO SL? Today we're breaking down the Brooks Hyperion 3 versus the Adidas Adizero Adios EVO SL. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Like I said, today we're comparing the Hyperion versus the EVO SL, but if it's your first time watching my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this comparison, but if you do so, I would sure appreciate if you come back and watch the full thing when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos. And if you've been a viewer for a while, but you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so today, and turning on notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video, which is typically Monday through Friday. Now, quick plug, I should find out within the next few weeks if I got into the Tokyo Marathon, but based on how the charity bid system works, I do believe I should be getting in, and so I'm attempting to preemptively raise money for that cause. As such, I'm committing the ad revenue, or really any revenue generated through YouTube for June, July, and August towards the charity. I committed to raise $4,000, so we'll put all of this towards that. In addition, I'm taking donations through the comments. If you hit the thanks button below, you can go ahead and donate there. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out and I don't make it into the marathon, which again, I don't expect to be the case, I will actually donate all of that towards charity still, but more focused on a charity that benefits men's mental health as opposed to one of the Tokyo Marathon charities. On top of that, I'm also donating any of the affiliate commissions that I generate through both Wallaco and Fuel Goods. You can find those links in the description below. Wallaco, they are my favorite half tights for running. I wear them in basically every race or every speed workout. I wore some this morning. The Wallaco distance half tights are my favorite, so you can get 20% off using the link below and putting RADDAD20 in the code or the promo code section at checkout. And then if you need running fuel, if you need gels or anything along those lines, you like liquid carbs instead, then you can also get those through the link below. With Fuel Goods, you can find what works for you, but if you use the link, it will give me a kickback, which I will be donating towards charity again for the months of June, July, and August. Now, quick disclaimers and disclosures for this video. I was provided the Hyperion 3 directly from Brooks for the purpose of review. That being said, I'm not paid. I'm not given talk tracks, talking points. I'm not asked to make any specific content. No one watches the videos beforehand, and all thoughts are entirely my own. And the EVO SL, I actually did buy not off the resale market. I did buy it retail, but I did buy it with my own money. And either way, Adidas doesn't pay me to make content or anything along those lines either. Now, as far as the intended use of these two shoes go, the lightweight daily trainers, lightweight up-tempo trainers, they are a very special category to me because for me, I really like a light shoe. I've got a very heavy stride, and so I just prefer to have something light on feet. And as the name implies, this category tends to be a little bit lighter than most shoes. On top of that, lightweight trainers tend to have supercritical foams or sometimes even full-blown racing foams in the shoes. So they're shoes that are meant to be able to, yes, handle daily miles. Oftentimes they might be a little too aggressive for like easy runs, but you could wear them for those. But really where they shine is kind of in some short, fast workouts, as well as, some tempo style workouts. So they're really supposed to be a really versatile category of shoe, and that's how we're going to be evaluating them today. From a price standpoint, typically this category costs in the $140 to $150, occasionally even all the way down to $130. That is going to be true for these two shoes. So the Hyperion 3 is coming in at $140. Meanwhile, the EVO SL is coming in at $150. So another reason why I really like this category, just best bang for your buck in my opinion. Like, the shoes are super versatile. You can use them daily. You can also do some speed in them. Like, it's the perfect one shoe rotation in my mind. Then moving to the specs, pretty close between these two shoes as well. So the Hyperion 3 comes in at 8.2 ounces, which is 232 grams. Meanwhile, the SL comes in at 8.1 ounces, which is 230 grams. And if I'm being honest, that is a little bit on the higher side for lightweight trainers. So both of these are going to be even a little bit higher stack for the lightweight trainer models. So the Hyperion 3, 36 in the heel, 28 in the forefoot, 8mm drop. The EVO SL, 37 in the heel, 30.5 in the forefoot for a 6.5mm drop. So both of them are pretty high stack for traditional lightweight trainers, and that's not specific to these two shoes. It's kind of a trend that we're seeing across the board in this category. They're getting a little bit more cushion underfoot and a tiny bit heavier. Personally, I like being in the 7 range, but that's, nowadays is kind of a rarity for a lightweight trainer. Moving to the fit, these shoes both fit, if I'm being honest, a little bit wonky, even for their respective brands. The Hyperion 3 is a little bit long. And then I would say it is, you know, more of a standard fit throughout, but I do notice, like, I do think I might have been able to half size down in the shoe. Brooks does run a little bit more snug, keep that in mind. So a little bit awkward of a fit, but you know, again, maybe consider half sizing down. If you can try it on in person, I would highly recommend. Meanwhile, EVO SL, we're looking at a little bit short. It is a little bit short, and then I would say that it's also a little bit more of a standard width throughout. You might be able to half size up in these. I wouldn't say the upper is especially wide. It really does feel more standard. I could see it feeling a little bit baggy though if you did half size up. So, but it does run a little bit short, and there's lots of complaints about that, which we'll talk about here in a second. Moving to the uppers, the Hyperion 3 has that breathable light mesh. It is kind of, you know, I can't remember if they call it a type of jacquard. Compared to previous models of the Hyperion though, it does feel a little bit more cushioned here in the upper. So you have, you know, actually it's kind of hard to see with this lighting, but there's a decent amount of cushion there in the ankle collar. Honestly, similar to that of the Ghost or Glycerin. So if you're used to those shoes, you're gonna get a very similar heel collar vibe. Now, in the other parts of the upper, it's gonna be a little bit more sporty. So you do have kind of this knit stretch tongue that is fully gusseted. And it's nice. It is a little bit warmer than I would like though. But for the most part, the upper breathes. I do wish that there was a little less cushion though, because it does add some extra warmth compared to the previous models. But all in all, you know, you can get some good midfoot lockdown. You're not going to be sliding around too much in the shoe. The length does make it feel a little bit awkward, but for the most part, you can still get the job done. And the upper is, at the very least, it's a good upper, maybe not like a super great upper. Meanwhile, the EVO SL, if you watch any reviews, I don't mind the upper. I don't mind the upper. And maybe I'm overlooking it because I love the foam, which we'll talk about. But I will say, like, the criticism of the upper is valid. So the upper, the tongue is fairly short. It also is not gusseted. It does kind of slide around and sometimes bunch when you're trying to put it on. The upper is an engineered mesh though, and it is pretty minimal, but it's pretty breathable too. So it, like, I don't care too much about the upper. The lockdown's not great, but the shoe does breathe really, really well. It does feel light on foot. You know, you don't have excess cushion there in the heel. It's not like a super plush upper, but I don't want that. Again, I don't want that in a lightweight trainer. I don't necessarily need that in a $150 shoe. So I know they're like, the upper is bad. Yes, it needs a lot of tweaking. You know, the laces do feel kind of cheap. The tongue, I just don't know what they were thinking with it, but for all intents and purposes, like, I don't slide around too much in the shoe. I may have to use the runner's knot to lock down and make sure that that's the case, but that's okay. I'm happy to do that. And like the upper itself, the fit is maybe awkward, but the material is comfortable. The material is very breathable. The material is very, very lightweight. And for a lightweight trainer, I much prefer something a little bit more minimal yet structured compared to something maybe a little bit warmer but kind of fancier. So like, I like that it's minimal, but I understand where the criticism on the upper comes from. Moving to the midsoles, you have DNA Flash nitrogen infused on the Hyperion 3. This is going to be, I believe it's an EVA based foam, and it is a little bit firmer overall. But it does have a little bit more squish this year. So it's still firm, it's still supportive, right? Like, it's not going to just squish and be kind of mushy underfoot. You can compress it, but it does give a lot more ground feel. It does feel a lot firmer than a lot of other speed-oriented foams nowadays, where so many speed-oriented foams are just super, super squishy now, right? I think that the other thing about the midsole here is, you know, it's a little bit less streamlined. So you have kind of the heel here that protrudes. It's a little bit wider in certain areas. So it's actually a very, very stable overall shoe. But I feel like the geometry of the shoe doesn't really lend itself to speed-oriented workouts. Like, I think as a daily trainer, I think it's great. I do think as a daily trainer though, the foam is going to be a little bit firmer than people like. So if you like the firm foams, or you like the ground feel and you want a slightly lighter shoe, then it's going to work really, really well as a daily trainer for you. It's just the geometry of it, both with the length as well as the protruding heel, it increases, in my mind, a little bit more of your ground contact time. I don't pop off the ground quite as quick. Now, the foam is responsive, right? You can pick up in it, and when you do hit faster paces, especially when you're hitting strides, things along those lines, it does feel fast, it feels nice. but it's more the geometry that kind of gets me when it comes to like being a lightweight trainer. I think if it was a little bit shorter and then you kind of cut that heel a little bit, I think it would have been just fine. They used the same foam in the Hyperion 2, and I really, really loved that shoe overall. Moving to the EVO SL, you have the Light Strike Pro foam, which is a supercritical TPE, and then you do have just a carbon fiber shank, I believe, kind of in the midfoot area to give it a little bit of structure. Now, similarly, it's not a firm foam. It's actually a soft foam, but it's not a mushy foam either. So, you know, you're not going to, again, feel super, super wobbly in the shoe just standing around. It's not going to squish down just by standing in it. But I do think it's a lot easier to compress than the Hyperion 3. I think the Hyperion 3 does feel a good amount firmer, yet this is still going to be fairly soft and supportive. Now, I do think it's a little bit unstable. Just kind of some of the cutout here in the medial side is, you know, it does kind of roll a little bit. And I also think, like you can see here, just the shoe kind of pushes you a little bit inwards. And so if you are someone who overpronates, needs stability, probably not a better option for you. I would lean towards Hyperion 3 if you're between these two. But the foam is really, really nice. Like, it's soft enough and supportive enough so I can comfortably go easy, right? You can run really easy in the shoe. You can run slow. You can take it out for a long run and not do any paces and feel really, really comfortable. It's going to feel supportive and soft and nice and bouncy underfoot. But then when you pick up the paces, you get a lot of rebound, a lot of feedback. It's a very smooth overall shoe. And again, thinking of the geometry, the heel doesn't protrude a ton, right? It's if anything, it's a little bit short. So I just feel like it pops off the ground a little bit better, less overall ground feel than the Hyperion 3, more versatile overall foam. I would race a marathon in the EVO SL. Like, I would definitely be comfortable and feel confident in the EVO SL racing a marathon. I've done some really awesome long run workouts in the shoe where I was hitting some tempo paces and was not struggling, felt amazing, but then also felt amazing in kind of the, you know, slower, easier paces. And I just feel like it's going to be a lot more versatile in that sense. Hyperion 3, maybe the foam feels a little bit better on shorter, faster stuff. That's not necessarily where the EVO SL shines, but I do think it's perfectly capable. I've done short speed sessions in it as well. And I don't know that there is a situation where I take the Hyperion 3 over the EVO SL in any style workout. It's that good to me. Moving to the outsoles, that might be maybe where the Hyperion 3 outshines the EVO SL. The EVO SL has been a little bit hit and miss. Continental rubber traditionally does well. It doesn't have crazy wear and tear on it, but I have had a couple of instances where it was a little bit slippery. But for the most part, unless you're in an area that rains a ton, you should be fine, right? The Hyperion 3 has a pretty nice, sticky rubber. I believe it's their Sport Tack rubber from Brooks. Tends to do really, really well. So all in all, Hyperion 3, I think does have maybe the slightly better outsole, but I do also think that it kind of weighs you down. The Hyperion 3 feels a little bit more top or bottom heavy to me, where the EVO SL feels a little bit more balanced overall. So, I mean, as far as my pick, I think it's obvious. So EVO SL is still sitting #1 for me in 2025 across the board, #1 shoe overall, as well as #1 shoe in the lightweight trainer category, right? For me right now, I think I go EVO SL, then Rebel V5, then Hyperion 3. I think that's kind of the order, if I'm not mistaking or forgetting any shoes, which very possible that I am. But I think that that's my order for lightweight trainers. If we're going top, if we're including lightweight trainers and daily trainers in the same category, then Neo Zen is 1B for me. And then probably Aeroglide 3 is honestly #2 or 3, right? Depending on how you look at it. So those are probably my top 3 if you combine the categories. But if we're looking strictly lightweight trainer, that's the intended purpose, EVO SL, Rebel V5, Hyperion 3, that's kind of where we're going. So anyway, just some final thoughts. I really like both of these shoes, but I absolutely love the EVO SL. And that's even with the flaws. That just tells you how much I love the foam underfoot. I think it just accomplishes the job of a lightweight trainer a little bit better than the Hyperion 3. The Hyperion 2 is, I love that shoe so much. It's a phenomenal overall shoe. I just feel like the Hyperion 3 became a little bit more of a daily trainer, and just a little bit less versatile with the geometry. And so I'll be curious to see what Brooks does in the future, if this is like a sign of what's to come, if they're going to continue down this line with the Hyperion line, or if they're going to make it a little bit more speedy in the future. But just want to be clear, it's not a bad shoe. I very much enjoy the shoe. It's just not quite what I want in a lightweight trainer. So if you stuck around this far, I sure appreciate you. Please take a sec. Let me know in the comments what you enjoyed about today's conversation, what questions you have about this comparison, or if there's other comparisons that you'd like to see. On top of that, another quick plug, right? If you want to help me raise money for the Tokyo Marathon, please consider hitting that thanks button below and donating directly in the comments. I will be donating any donations as well as any revenue generated period through the commissions in the links below, as well as through YouTube in general for the months of June, July, and August. Raising $4,000, we're going to make that happen. We're going to get there to the Tokyo Marathon in 2026. If you watched this far and you haven't hit the subscribe button, what you doing? Please consider doing that right now. And let's just wrap up with a question, which is, what to you is a differentiating point between a lightweight trainer and a daily trainer? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.